Hey everybody, Edo here, and I am excited today because I have Jen Igartua from Pillbox Games here joining us. And actually, say hello.
Hi everyone, I'm Jen.
Nice to have you, Jen. And actually, this is a new content type. I don't know what I'm going to call it yet. I'll figure that out after when I'm making the splash screen. But the basic idea here is we talked before you started your campaign, getting some feedback on a forum or whatever it was, and we talked about doing a video, but we agreed to do this video about 3 or 4 days after the campaign launched, not knowing how it would go. And the idea was we would either be talking about it being a success, which I think is the case in this instance, or a failure, or in the middle, and walk through it and sort of get that in the moment. You are in the middle of a campaign experience, which I think is really useful for Kickstarter campaign creators to see and understand. And so that's what this is. And if it's great, cool. If not, I don't have to do it again. You'll be the
It's
only
gonna be
one.
great. What do you mean? It's
Well,
gonna
you'll
be
be great. You'll be great. But whether or not people are really interested in this, but we will find that out. I never quite know. So, just as a little bit of a background, we're actually going to talk about the campaign specifically. But in terms of you and Pillbox Games, this is your first campaign, right?
Indeed.
And can you tell? So, just as a little quick origin story, who are you? How'd you meet up? How
Yeah,
did you get to the game? That kind of thing.
totally. So Pillbox Games is 4 people. I'm Jen, but we also have Jade, Ben, and Kat. All of us live in Brooklyn. We live like half a mile from each other. So it's a little bit cliche how like Brooklyn we are, 4 kids in Brooklyn, like hanging out on nights and weekends, creating a card game. But we were all friends, prior to doing this. Kat was actually roommates with my cousin. Kat and Jade just got engaged. Like we used to go to parties with Ben all the time, and so it was like kind of interesting to start a business with all friends. And the idea is really Jade's idea. Jade actually suffered from a lot of mental illness when he was young. He wrote a really great article on Thought Catalog we can link everyone to, and he wanted to create a game on that topic, something that's so difficult to talk about and has such a stigma to it.
Sure.
So he started talking with everyone, started creating prototypes. Ben was the art behind it. He's an incredible illustrator. I have more of a marketing and business background. Kat has a lot of press and social media. So like together, I feel like we formed this like killer team of like just such perfect different skill sets that work well together.
Well, that's a big part of it. I mean, a lot of creators come at their first campaign as individuals, and the
Yeah,
Kickstarter stretches so many skill sets that
totally.
that's just a huge challenge, right?
Can't
Um,
imagine it, honestly, doing it alone.
yeah,
I
well,
don't know how people do it.
that's crazy. I was actually really surprised when we were talking about this, your willingness to do a video so close to launch. But then you're like, I got these other people, and I was like, oh, all right, well,
Yeah, we got help.
and so you talked a little bit about the group. Now you said when we formed this company. So just again, anything in this conversation you don't want to answer, that's fine. But as far as the company is concerned, did you guys actually and gals start an LLC? It's like a
Yeah,
real company, and
yeah.
so you locked hands together. You're going for it.
Yeah, and this isn't the first company I've started. My day job, I've got a consulting company called Go Nimbly, and so I knew the importance of something like an LLC. You have to be able to track expenses accordingly. You have to be sort of able to get revenue and have it different than your personal bank account. And getting all those ducks in a row are pretty important. It's a few $100s to get it going. You can use like Rocket Lawyer or oh gosh, there's a
Legal.
few ones. LegalZoom.
Yeah.
You can use those, get an LLC up and running pretty quickly. We knew that we had to do that, especially there's not a ton of protections when it comes to copyright. People can copy you, but at least you've got a piece of paper that says so for all of the art that Ben created.
Sure, sure. No, that was actually a really nice summation of that whole topic. I've done a few videos on it, and certainly for both protections and just clarity between the partners or people in the group and all that, having a company goes a long way. And
For sure.
on the accounting side, just from day one, being able to say, this credit card is the only thing that's spending money on
Yeah,
this kind of thing, and here's the bank account, will make your life a whole lot
for
easier.
sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Otherwise, you're going to leave money on the table. If you're
Yeah.
spending money, which I know anybody creating a Kickstarter is spending money from like cabs to go somewhere, buying games that you buy for inspiration, like any of these things, they're expenses. They're expenses to your company. Yeah, might as well get some tax cuts from it.
Smart lady, smart lady. It's good. Okay, so you're together and you decide you are going to make this campaign. You mentioned the art. I have to say you have a wonderful graphic style. It's very compelling and thematic and strong. And I that was the first thing I noticed. And it really pops out of the box and your main logo. But I like how the subtlety of the cards, right? You have that sort of big pop on the box with the gold and the dark brown or black or whatever color it is, maroon.
Yeah.
And and then you have just the interesting card art, but they're not quite as in your face.
Yeah. Yeah, and we just unlocked a stretch goal to put gold foil on that box, and I am so pumped.
Oh, that's very cool. That's very cool.
Really slick.
Yeah. The gold foils, cool. There's another campaign, Haunt the House, that did glow in the dark like foil.
Oh yeah, looked into that. Yeah,
super cool.
Yeah.
But so to dig in, right? In terms of the campaign right now, we are on. You launched on Tuesday. Is that correct?
We did. Tuesday at 11.
Tuesday at 11. It's now Friday. For what it's worth, this video will post on Monday. So if you're watching it right now, you can see the diff. But as of Friday at 2 when we're filming this, PST, 5 for you. That's why it's so dark out there. You're at 22. You're almost at 23,000.
Yeah,
or 70,
$2 away.
Yeah, very close.
Yeah.
And 700 backers. And that's a very healthy campaign using my slightly experienced kick track sort of angle on it. You're tracking about $50,000-$60,000.
All right.
Right? You'll see. You're not trending towards 177. I apologize. But it's exciting.
Yeah, kick track's another interesting topic. Like all of the ones that sort of show you where you're trending. Day one when we started, it said I was going to make like $250,000. I was like, yeah, that's not true. And so it's like one of those silly things that if I hadn't been so involved in all of the creator groups and the board game groups on Facebook, I probably would have thought that was true. But I knew already that I had to. It's just multiplying your day one by 30, right. Which is ridiculous to think that you're going to trend the same as your day one. But that's always an interesting look.
It's super interesting, and it's the kind of thing that, I actually, for a little while I talked with the guy from KickTrack about one thing or another. I haven't spoken with him in a long time, but it's one of those things like they could make it a little bit more accurate. Like, it wouldn't be hard to make it a little bit more accurate. But for those who want to know what I did to come to say, hey, 50 or 60, what you're going to do is you're going to say, what was the day one? And you guys were at 13,000 and a really healthy 341 backers. Then you had the typical step down to about 5,500. And what you're looking for, you want to see about 40% step down. That's like a normal, standard, healthy step down. If you go from 13,000 and your day two is 1,000, which is not the case for you, but that's typically a sign that you like brought a big audience and then there was no other audience, right? Like they sort of came and so that kind of campaign will have a big day one and then be very flat. But where this is more of your natural curve down, then you had 3,000 and 1,500, and so or 1,300. You're about to walk into your slump time frame.
Quiet, yeah.
You're more quiet. Suddenly you're going to be seeing the amount go up, but then fall down because some people cancel out, and then go up and then fall down. You might have a good steady state, right? A campaign like this, it wouldn't surprise me if you weren't still doing 400 to 600 a day. But some campaigns are more in that 200 category. But so anyway, so basically what you're going to say is 20, 22, you probably are going to have about that much on the end. That'll get you to about 44. And then in the middle, you pick up another, you have however many days, you pick up another 10,000, right? So that's, when I say 50 to 60, just for you and for everyone else, that's like the super quick, dirty, how's it going to roll math. But very much a healthy campaign. 700 backers is fantastic. And so that's where you are now, and again, hopefully when this video comes out on Monday, you've had a fantastic weekend.
Yeah.
But so in terms of preparation, you make the game, you work it out, you figure out the art, and you get it ready. What was your lead up to Kickstarter? Like, what are the things that you did? When did you start? How much? Take us through that part of the process.
Yeah, we started in January of this year, so we thought it would be a lot faster. I think every first game maker goes, "Oh, I'll make a page, get a little bit of like marketing going, and I'll be fine." It doesn't work like that. So we actually originally wanted to launch in June,
Okay.
And then we launched in August, and then we finally launched in October or November. Like we pushed.
Did you actually launch?
No, we didn't launch.
Okay.
Sorry, I just meant that was our launch date. So we
Oh,
moved
okay.
our launch date to August, then we moved it again to October, and then we moved it again to November. So it was one of those things where at what point can you consider yourself ready? And we had a couple things that we wanted to make sure we had, like a kick-ass page that was beautiful, a kick-ass video that was like really engaging to watch. Those are sort of at the core. We're super proud of our video. So, you know, we felt good about the art and the vision. And then we needed a lot of pre-marketing. So we had our Instagram. Oh, my light just went off for a minute. We had our Instagram, you know, going all the time. We had email being collected on the website. We did a ton of meetups. We hosted events. We're part of the WeWork network, so we hosted events at like every WeWork we could think of. It's a co-working space for basically startups. So like a lot of young people like interested in this sort of thing. And so we did a lot of happy hours. We actually took it, any trip that we went to, we all committed to doing a happy hour or something in that area. So I did a couple in London, San Francisco, like Croatia, like we were all over the place, just committing that anywhere we were going, we were showing this to people to get the word out. Right. So we did a lot of in-person marketing, and then the other thing we did is a lot of communities, and I think that was one of the biggest helpful things for me was learning what was good and what was bad by doing all the Facebook communities of board game makers.
Yeah, and just to talk to that for a second, right? When you talk about the events you've hosted, where you're establishing people, and you know, we could think through the sort of it adds to the fun.
Give me 1 second.
No, it's fine. It'll be fine. It'll just go on and off, and it'll be like a show. I interviewed Bebo just a couple days ago, and her cat. It was insane. It's really fun. But so that's interesting, right? In terms of how your audience builds. Now you have a particular subject matter and things like that. But you know, for those who don't know, when you run a Kickstarter, you can look at your community page and you can see your top city.
Totally.
Surprise or not surprise is Brooklyn, right? You have 36 backers from Brooklyn. You have 35 from Greater New York. Yeah. And San Francisco and Los Angeles, right?
Yeah, and I've done a ton of events in San Francisco because I go there for work.
Right. So suddenly that starts all pulling things together, and it's funny, but 100 backers is a big deal, right? Looking through, then it falls into Paris and Sydney and Montreal. Unless you've been traveling the world, you may not have been doing events there.
No, but those are friends and family, I think, or just Australia. We don't really know anyone, so I have a couple friends in Australia, but minor.
Oh yeah, Australia is a big Kickstarter back. Australia, you'll always get good volume from, unless you have like crazy shipping prices. Canada, Europe, but those first 100 backers, those first 200, 300 backers is a really big deal. And looking at your campaign, most campaigns fund at 300 or 400 people. If you can get 300, 400 people in the door, you could do it. And the reality is, again, these are things I've said in different videos, but 300 people is 10 people a day for 30 days. Yeah. And like you can put boots on and get that done if you haven't brought them in. Yeah. Let's talk. So there's some other interesting things. So you did that. You sort of talk us through the postponing, right? Very smart. People often launch when they shouldn't. What was it for you that said, we're not ready. Like, how did you guys make that decision?
We wanted to make sure manufacturing cost and that we had enough like prototypes done and all that good stuff was in a good place. Shipping was extremely stressful for us. It's still stressful. So making sure that we ironed out the kinks there. But I think mostly we didn't feel like we had a large enough list and we didn't feel like we had a large enough backing for us to go live. I wanted to make sure we had
threshold for you guys. Like what was the number you were looking for?
Raw number of people that like signed up by themselves, we had no idea what it was about 250, but we had over 1,000 of like people that we had like met ourselves either through events or our own network.
That's a huge number to do that outreach for.
For sure. And a lot of it was like friends, family, we realized actually we had full families on there, and so for every 5 we had 1 purchase, so there was a little bit of that where like oops.
Sure. And it's not. Depends on the family, I guess, but it's not necessarily a game you're going to play with 6-year-olds, right? But
the impotence card in there, so it is a big subject, right? To talk to them about mental illness.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably not a bad thing, honestly, to have that conversation. But I'm just generally speaking, I don't think it falls in that category.
For sure.
And so yeah, so you sort of felt you weren't there, and that was your gauge. Was there anything else that was gating for you? Like, did it? How many reviews do you have? Because you didn't reach out to me,
Yeah.
or did you? I don't think you did.
Not sure. We actually really wanted to do reviews. We got turned down all the time. We were like, shipping was a big issue for us. Again, we're bootstrapping, so each deck actually cost us about $50 to make at the beginning because we printed in the US,
Sure.
and then shipping was another like 15, $20. So it's like we already paid like $60 or so to get a deck to a reviewer, which I know in the grand scheme of things for a lot of games that's cheap. So I know there's a lot of like,
Oh, yeah, it's a huge
games,
expense.
but
So
it's an expense for us. And so we didn't want to pay for reviewers, and a lot of people came back to us like wanting us to pay $400-$600, and we just couldn't do it. You have to sell a lot of decks for us to break even there, and we weren't able to. A lot of people wouldn't do Kickstarter.
All right.
So yep.
To some degree, I think perhaps you know, getting in and figuring out which reviewers to talk to can help with that, because there are certainly a Kickstarter segment. There's tons of non-Kickstarter ones who will just say no. But 600 is a new high. I have not 400 sort of was the new base level recently. Is it people were quoting you at 600?
Yeah, but mostly, like I did see mostly around the 400. If they made like videos that were custom and things like that, and you sort of like
sure.
editing, they went up from there. I had a couple people that said they wanted a percentage of our campaign, which I was sort of open to. Like give them a little bit of equity essentially for doing the work for free. But I was just too nervous to add that like a percentage on top. So we didn't do it.
Those are some charlatans, man. Look, those things happen. Certainly, it's a difference between. I would never consider giving someone a cut of a campaign for a review. Right. If it's like, we'll do your how to play video, we're going to do we'll do your intro, and they're putting, they're essentially doing $2,000, $3,000 worth of video for you.
Right.
I think I have that happens more often, but the one where they're just like for a review, because then also it's not really even anywhere close to a review, right? At that point, it's just they're in their own interest that you're successful. But no, it is very hard. It is very hard as a first time provider. I mean, your game, I get tons of games, so I don't charge, and I do a lot of first time reviews, and it's great. So I saw it's Unfiltered Gamer. He's going to have. That is going to be, hey, reviewers, you don't know if you say yes to something like this, that review is going to, I bet you it's over 1,000 views, is my guess, considering where your campaign is, and he's basically the only one there. So it's not that bad of a thing to be the one on it.
Yeah, for sure. I think the other thing is that we knew is that we wanted to we're a little bit more mass appeal than a lot of games. We are sort of a 15-minute game. Really quick to learn. You can learn it in 2 to 3 minutes. So we also really spent a lot of our time going a little bit broader into other types of press. So like The Awesomer featured us. We did a few podcasts. We have a podcast coming up on the Jenny McCarthy show on Monday. And so, it's and so we're trying to work those channels and get into press because we do think it has a bit of mass appeal to it. We still have a lot more gamers than I expected buying our game, which is like really exciting, to be honest. Like I thought because we didn't have a ton of reviews that we might get ripped apart, but it seems that people are not as worried about it.
You really need one. At the end of the day, having more is good, and then you're talking about reviewers' audience. But as long as you have one, it covers that check. And most people don't see more than one either. And I was a little, he doesn't have quite as many views as I thought, but it is doing well for a video. And but in terms of engaging the community, I saw it. I saw in different. You were asking for feedback and providing screenshots and images, and I see at least, whether or not it was because I said something, I see at least one thing that I thought was terrible. You fixed, so that's good. Which was
I'm listening.
Well, right. Well, that's a big deal, right? It's taking the feedback. You the one that I remember was you had all the review quotes and the people's quotes in like really ornate script. Like an angle, and it was like super hard to read. But no, it's a very nice looking page, very reflective of somebody who's looked at and sort of considered what's in the industry. You have a nice custom box, which is a good way to get people up.
That sold out so much faster than I expected. We're thinking about bringing more back, but I don't know if like the people that bought it are going to get upset.
No, I mean, look, people get upset.
Yeah.
What will make people upset is if you what will make people upset is if you sell the box after the campaign. That will make
Okay.
people very upset. If
Even in a pledge manager?
Borderline. It depends on
Okay.
how you handle your pledge manager. If your pledge manager has that like $1 to get into the pledge manager thing, um, uh, probably not. But if it's like a pledge manager where it's like, it depends on, honestly, it depends on what the language on the page was about the box. If
Yeah.
it's a Kickstarter exclusive, if it's just a premium wooden box and there's nothing about limited edition, have at it. Have fun. Don't worry about it.
I mean, we did say they're made in America, and we only can make a few. We can only ship to the U.S., so maybe we can get away with it. But I honestly thought at the 125 level that it would be only friends and family that bought it. Like I was thinking, mom and my aunts would be buying it, and we actually don't know more than 50% of the people in there.
Of course. I mean, so one, it's a particularly cool box.
Yeah, it's
right?
awesome.
Like it's not like just a little bit cool, but anyone watching this, if you haven't looked at that box, it's like
Yeah, it's awesome.
however good or bad your game is, you could take the game out and put put whatever you want in that box, and it would be a great box. So you're selling a great box. But also, people on Kickstarter, generally speaking, in that gamer audience are collectors, and they want to collect things and have premium stuff because they expect your normal game to go to retail. But again, I'm looking at it, and it just says premium wooden box, and when I see premium wooden box, I don't see exclusive. If you're saying this was a fixed shipment only for Kickstarter backers and you're selling it that way, that's when you need to be careful. But if you're not, go for it. What I ended up doing for Siblings Troubles, I had premium boxes. I sold out. I wanted to add more, and what I ended up doing is I still kept it within the campaign, but when I added a second group, it was like the second group and I increased it a couple bucks. Not really to make any more money, but just to say, hey, I know, other people, but I never really got any grief. It's really people who get concerned about it being openly available. But if it's just expensive because it's premium and it's made in America, I don't think that's a bad thing.
The gentleman making these for us can only make them in batches of 20.
Right.
And so you will get it later. I think I am going to ship it first to the people because we have to ship it ourselves. Give it first to the people that bought it first, so you will get it sooner. Then maybe open it up to the rest of them. But yeah, the guy is busy making them one at a time. They're very cool.
Yeah, no, for sure, they're very cool. Other little things that on the feedback side, which this isn't for changing, right? But like when I'm just because I haven't looked at this in a while, like I've moved away from these sort of not nonsensical, but themed tier levels. Yeah, like just just one copy of the game, 2 copies of the game in a premium box. Like you read the title and you're like, I don't know what Megalomania, like what does that all mean? You also have a really solid video. Again, I haven't played the game. It's actually quite a bit like, from watching the video, it's a little like Murder of Crows, which was a game that Thomas and Denmark and I designed a long time ago, which has that same playing in your tableau and thwarting other people. But you have a really nice, it's both shows the game and has that sort of not creepy is not the right word, but thematic sort of...
No, we're okay with creepy.
But it's like a hip creepy, right? It's not like Halloween creepy. It's more just sort of like edgy. And it's not too long. What was it, like a couple of minutes? A minute? Minute 22?
Minute and a half or so.
Now, one thing you didn't do, if I recall, let me just do, which I'm curious about, because you're first-time creators, you chose not, I assume it was a choice, not to include sort of the creator voice, right? Not the that's the video, hey, we're out of Brooklyn, we're 4 cool kids trying to do something cool, help us out. What was your thought process there?
Mostly we don't really buy games because of that. And so ourselves, we already know that Kickstarter is helping makers. And so it wasn't as important in an opening video. We wanted it to be quick. We wanted it to be more about the feel of the game and get you excited about the game. So we actually ripped out the interviews into a different video, and it's in the page. So for those people that want to know who we are and get to know us, it's a little bit deeper into the page. We actually also really doubled down on making that interview look nice. We've seen interviews before where it's almost an iPhone video or something that's a little bit more difficult to watch, quite frankly. So we also spent a good bit of money making the interview engaging. But we had them back to back. where one led to the other, and we didn't even want to watch it. It's like it's going into it, and we were like, it's like, let's just remove it for the people that want to watch it farther down. I actually don't know how many views we got from the introduction.
Do you want to know?
Yeah.
So your interview is 82.
Yeah, see, people don't care.
Yeah, that was one thing I would consider. Like, I actually buy your argument of not including it, especially when you have such a compact sizzle video.
Yeah.
But then, like, and you make this decision while you go, but I would just not spend money. That's not a place I would spend money.
Right.
Yeah,
we did it all in one shoot, so it wasn't like
terribly,
like we did it with a playthrough. We did it in the same day.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't like a terrible amount that we tacked on, but yeah, I mean, nobody's watching it. Like those 80 probably my mom and dad on replay.
And another thing I noticed, just because I think it's really smart, you do the little Stegmeyer style side effects with the little text on the right. You have a little graphic that's your header. And you have 3 minutes to learn, which isn't usually in the age players time category, right? That's another. You're really emphasizing that it's a quick game to get into and play. And so again, clearly it's been a campaign in this initial 4 days. Any like reactions, thoughts, like things that like as a new creator you would share that were unexpected learnings or whatever?
I think the biggest learning that I had was there's so many things that Kickstarter blocks for you to see until after you go live. And there's so many things that they don't let you do to prepare and things that I just didn't know to ask, things that I assumed would be there. So, one of the simple ones is if you want to track your links and how well they do, you can only create them after you go live.
Yeah, it's terrible. That's true or not true?
Okay.
If you're not using Google Analytics, and you just want to use their tracking IDs, that's true. You got to wait, you launch them. But if there's a form in there where you can like set up Google Analytics. If you go through and you put that in, then you'll be getting it from the beginning. But it's not. You have to want to go into that level of data. But a lot of people get really frustrated with that one. But that's a good one.
But I think also I wanted to have a custom link for each of us. Like I wanted to see how my email did.
You wanted? I'm gonna see what Jade. How many people did you get, Jade?
And I wanted to be able to like link them to my friends and see, okay, how's my friend one converting, and like have some of that analytics. We also, we had some like our feature in the Awesomer did really well. That one really converted, and so that's interesting insight because this is not the last campaign we want to do. So there's a lot of like data that I feel like I missed because we had press going out or we were sharing things prior.
Oh yeah, it's a little bit of a mess. You can pull a little bit of it out from a dashboard that they give you, but it's not the same as customizing it. And again, if you're put together and smart like you guys seem to be, you'll have had all those queries and articles and emails all pre-written, and you just want to send them out. And Vince, who has had some massive campaigns, was just complaining to me a couple weeks ago about how much of a pain it was for him to like have to like cycle through and do it.
There's a few other things like the dashboard. Like it's great. It tells me by country how many backers I have, but it doesn't tell me what they bought. So I can't slice and dice that. Like I can only see 400 people from the U.S. I don't know what they bought. So it's like my little spreadsheet that I have that tells me my cost to ship and things like that. I have to start guessing. So that's annoying. I'm a big on like Excel pivot tables and all that good stuff so that I can analyze where I am, and that's making it hard for me. So that
you can sort of pull that from the community tab, but it's a pain.
What they bought though, it will tell me like how many sales, and then basically what I did is a percentage of each one and went about it that way. But
it's sort of amazing. It's really amazing that at this point, considering the tons of money Kickstarter has made, that they haven't leveled up this aspect. Now, once you've closed your campaign, you're able to get that information, but it's definitely something that if you're trying to get ahead of the curve, is something you want. What other things did you learn?
There's a few things that I just wish I would have prepared a little bit more. We had our like go live checklist with everything we wanted to post, everywhere we wanted to do, and what emails we wanted to send. I didn't have the emails I had them all written, but I didn't have them in MailChimp yet, so I should have done a little bit more because then I was like, I have to test it in browsers. So that piece was like a learn. Like I almost was there with like ready to go live and press go, and that took a lot longer than I wanted it to. So our email didn't go out till later in the afternoon. So that was a little bit frustrating. There's a few other kind of post-campaign learns. I mean, people cancel their rewards. Don't get upset about it. Like, the first one's like, what are you doing?
What are you doing? You just gave it. And honestly, even with the best campaigns, you are about to go through a really hard period. You're going to see just you're not still going to be healthy, but you'll just see more and more, and the pace will be slower, and you'll have to cry inside a little bit every single time. Something you mentioned about that prep, I completely agree. Right, when I'm heading into a campaign, I have like a 3 days before, 3 days after checklist, but I'll have literally, depends on the size of the campaign, 20 or 30 emails written, because I don't bulk mail. Like if I have reviewers or people, I want everyone's name in it. I want to mention something about them. So I have it all together, but they're all written, and I have the link in there, and I'm going to check it out. I do a link check before I send it, and then your MailChimp or whatever newsletter you're using and all that, so that you really are in that first half hour is just like send.
Yeah,
go.
For sure. It's time consuming.
So what is it? Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, the other thing that we didn't do is we knew what our stretch goals were, but we didn't write our updates beforehand. And we're proud of our updates. Like Jade and Kat are they're content writers, they're copywriters. I'm gonna go
look at your updates now, but keep going.
Yeah, they're so funny. I think that what makes it really fun to be around each other is I'm gonna self-proclaim myself as funny too, but like we love a good joke, we love self-deprecating humor, and so it's been fun to write a lot of this copy. And so we're trying to be funny in our updates. And when we hit our 15,000 or 20, we were still writing our updates, like getting ready for it. We hit it a lot faster than we thought we would. And we want those to be funny. I mean, they're there forever. And so I would have written them before. Like we knew what the stretch goal was. We knew what we wanted to do. Me and Kat spent like 45 minutes looking at GIFs, at one point, like to pick the best GIF. It's time consuming stuff when you want it so badly to be part of your brand.
Yeah, I'm looking at them now. I can't, it's a little. I'm listening and reading, so.
Yeah.
But no, they're funny, and they have the little GIF, the humor and jokes at the top and the bottom. I think that's cute. I wouldn't necessarily stress out about that, in the grand scheme of things. One little thing that I'd recommend, maybe for your next campaign. What I like doing in updates that I feel like really gives them a nice feel, much like a newsletter, is I create, and it's usually something from the page, but I have a banner at the top, which is your campaign name, and then on the bottom I'll have a thank you.
Totally.
And that becomes sort of a stamp that they're all in. You don't need to do that, but like if you're really like, I want to do the coolest updates, I think that it makes them stand out and feel more like newsletters than they feel like sort of text.
I'm with you. I've gotten them before, so I've seen the emails. But it's interesting when you're kind of just writing it in that editing box. We were doing it quickly on the fly. I think if we would have done it earlier, we would have really thought about what it looked like in email.
Yeah. Can I give you another piece of feedback? Because I'm just looking at your stuff, right?
Hit me.
Well, I'm looking through your comments, and for 4 people on this campaign, not as responsive as I would expect you guys to be on the comment section.
Yeah, we've replied directly back to people, and I think we should reply back on there. I actually posted on the board game group that I didn't know how to reply back because I didn't know that I should just type their name, and they wouldn't get an alert, and so I just replied back to them individually, and then I've been putting some of the comments into FAQs. But I think you're right, just popping back in there and replying back. I think we'll up our game there.
Yeah, and in particular, for not for those first backers, but for the backers that are going to be in here for the next week and a half. Yeah, they look at the comment section, among other things, but the comment section is an indication of your engagement and involvement with your product. You could be responding to every single one, because there's a lot of long questions here, and there's, you could be responding to all of those things and be the coolest person in the world, but if that's not visible to, here's the short answer, I'll follow up on the rest in PM, it looks like you're not being responsive, even though you might very well be.
Yeah, I mean, we've sent like close to 60 private messages. So we're on it, but I think you're right. It's just nobody knows that. So I'll up my game and comment there.
just feedback.
No, I love it.
And you broke 23,000 while we were talking, though.
Yeah.
Not this isn't actually live, so this is all your own doing. But
I actually saw it at 22,999, and I was like, who's gonna pop it over?
So we talked a little about the comments, and you have been adding to the facts, which is good as you go, because those are questions and things that people come up with and are curious about. How have you liked having your $1 tier? Not, only had about 15 people. Do you like that it was there, or do you think you should have considered the skipping the $1 tier, because that's a big topic?
No, I'm fine with it. I think if I would have had a lot more, I would have doubted it. So I think those 15 backers, I'm hoping will convert by the end of it. They're just putting it on as a listener to be able maybe to get into the pledge manager. I'm not sure. I didn't want like friends and family to do it, and it's nobody I know. So it's like, people that may not have the money or want to track it. I think it's fine. I know that people can make a pledge anyway, but I'll let you know at the end how much that $1 converts.
Yeah, I'm curious.
Yeah, me too.
The other piece of it, just so you, as another piece of feedback, if you're considering it to be that hold for the pledge manager spot, it's well worth your effort to add that in to the actual description, because not everyone runs a pledge manager, and people don't necessarily assume that's the case. You'll end up getting questions about it, but that's another thing.
I will.
You may not be able to at this point. By the way, I really like your banners. You have bigger ones, but they feel fun, and not fun's not the right word, but interesting, and they have good pop to them with the banner and then the big graphics on top of them.
Yeah, that's all Ben.
So yeah, it's cool. And then the skulls with the flags in their eyes is another interesting thing.
We had a lot of fun making those.
Yeah.
I did think that the Canadian one kind of looks like blood in his eyes, but I like it. Or like fire. But it's good.
Yeah, I wonder, along those lines, again, stuff like, I'm just, providing you feedback, and perhaps when you have a ton of tiers, they get really long and they get really scrolling. And if you're on even mobile, it's even worse. And you have like this big copy you're copying in each one around, like, if you don't see your country, maybe here or there, you could go look, you could just have that in the shipping section and just say, see shipping for details. And you sort of answer that question.
Worried. I mean, I'm still so worried about shipping and setting the expectation and making sure that like people know. Like I still can't sleep about it. My friend that went live with another campaign, they lost a few $1,000s just shipping.
Oh yeah, I made my first campaign was $10,000 underwater. A lot, mostly because I messed up on shipping.
We already did mess up on shipping. I'm not going to tell you how in case people listen and take advantage of it. But we're still like struggling with that a lot. Whether our manufacturer says they can ship for us. We've been talking with and gotten quotes from a few shipping companies. Whether we do local fulfillment or not. Like it's all luckily our game is actually under the VAT for most European countries at $20. And so that part is not as stressful. But, I mean, that's where people lose money. So I've got spreadsheets galore and, depending on how many people from each country come.
Yeah, but we have only about 3 or 4 more minutes in this video. I try to keep them. One of the reasons I'm running my Gaming with Edo campaign, which, as of this video, will be the last day of the campaign, just to do a little mini plug for myself. But is to get a better computer so I can have longer Q&As. But at about 42 minutes... the whole thing just melts on itself.
You need a new computer.
but I can stop over for a couple minutes because shipping shouldn't be anything that's freaking you out the way it seems to be. So maybe I can give you a couple pieces of advice. I think I really... So you have 26 days to go. You've went through the sort of initial punch of it. What are a couple of the things you have planned to make the most out of that slump period or that down period?
So we're going to PAX Unplugged. So we'll be there. We're sharing a booth with our friends at God Hates Games. They made a game called God Hates Charades, and they had a couple of other Kickstarters. They're like the coolest guys. They've got a new game that they're coming out with called Baby Futures. And they're just like super awesome dudes. So we're going to share a booth with them, play at the tables, all that good stuff. So
PAX is a great show for you guys. You should legitimately see 100 backer bump out of PAX, I would think.
That would be fabulous. So we're going to be there. We're driving down. We have an Airbnb, so it should be lots of fun. Going to a couple of the happy hours people have planned. There's a women's gamer group that's on Facebook that's kind of meeting up, so we'll do that. We've got 2 more events at WeWork, one in New York, one in San Francisco. So we're doing a couple events there. We've got the podcast with Jenny McCarthy. We're working a couple more press avenues. So we're still hustling. We're not stopping.
Well, if you're hustling that hard, my estimates may be off, right? You certainly could see a nice growth in interest, especially from a couple of those channels.
Yeah, we're trying. I mean, we're meeting this weekend at a game store in Brooklyn on Sunday, all getting together, and so we're pushing like it's go live.
Yeah, that's what it is. And do you have Game 2 in your brains at all, or are you just sort of waiting to see all this stuff?
No, we've got a couple of things. So we have a lot of ideas that could be played off of side effects. We're not sure we're going to go expansion or go new avenue, but I think it would be fun to do one version with medical marijuana strains instead of pills. I think it'd be fun to do another version with STDs, and that's more funny, less advocacy. But we think there's some fun there, probably just print and plays that we're kind of excited to do. And then from a game perspective, we want to keep that dark humor aspect. And so we wanted to do a game playing off of the 2016 elections. We've got something in the works there. We've got a game where we want to do profiteering off of global warming. So it's all sort of these topics that we feel strongly about and wanting to throw some dark humor about it.
No shortage. It wasn't like, here's the one thing. No, here's the slate for the next 13 years.
No, we've got way more. We've got tons of ideas. I'm nervous and excited to go into games that are a little bit more complicated.
Sure.
Both from the game design perspective and bringing them to reality. We knew we wanted to start with a card game.
Yeah, it definitely helps. So listen, thanks for joining me and talking about all this and the transparency, right? I feel that, I've done all these videos, but at some point, more Q&As, more examples from people who are in the moment doing different campaigns will help people sort of get themselves ready for their big day and all that stuff. But good.
I would just say, somebody on a Facebook group, I don't remember who, said enjoy the ride. And try to really enjoy it, and we try to do that. I mean, it was high anxiety and high feelings the whole time on Tuesday, but we brought champagne and we try to have drinks.
Awesome.
We went out to a beer afterwards. We made sure to pause and play a game and really take in oh my god, we did it. And trying to enjoy. I mean, it's going to be 30 days. It's going to be 30 days that we talk about forever, right? These are stories that we'll tell, and so we're trying to take a moment and be all right, here it is. This is what we spent a year on.
Yeah. It's the journey. It's not the destination.
Yeah, for sure.
But so anyway, thank you for joining. Thanks everyone for watching. Subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Play some great games. Talk to you later.